It's so sad. I feel so sorry for myself. Boo-hoo! Actually, I'm the one who thinks everything's a pain in the ass.
Huh? Two Yosuke's?
Who are you? I wouldn't think that.
As with many people around my age, growing up when Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger dropped on the Super Nintendo, they were considered really awesome titles, truly ahead of their time with a great story, characterization, and even some real technical prowess. With Final Fantasy VII's release on the PS1, regardless of all the fanboy bitching that goes on today, back in 1997 it was what we wanted to play and we loved it. It's a game that made Japanese RPGs go from one of the least selling genres to one of the biggest selling, at least for a while. Was Final Fantasy VII a fluke? I understand that this is a generalization, but from my eyes and many others, contemporary Japanese video game storytelling fell into a real rut. As the years pressed on, standout JRPGs became an exception rather than a rule. Even the top quality, top budget titles today like Star Ocean: The Last Hope, which I did enjoy, and all the various Tales games, are anchored in cliches that have been beaten to death with stereotypical archetypes and crappy-ass pandering to the extremely familiar. Sometimes it's hard to be a fan of these games, especially when it comes to the secondary titles. Atlus and their Shin Megami Tensei series is a true standout and a message to the world that JRPGs are not completely dead and that innovation can exist with an interesting plotline while using the best of what the genre has to offer while shredding the unnecessary awful storyline conventions that have been done to death and much better before. I would consider the Shin Megami Tensei franchise to be the best currently active JRPG franchise today. So Persona 4 picks up about a year after Persona 3. As opposed to the rocking busy city of Persona 3, 4 takes place in the rural layback town of Inaba. You know, one of those towns where the opening of a Walmart type store is considered to be a really big deal, which is actually happening in this game. What's an even bigger deal though is that there's this thing called the Midnight Channel that appears at midnight, well, every night that it's rainy. The local kids at school say that if you peer into this channel, you'll see a picture of the one you're destined to be with. Not quite though. People around town have been showing up on the TV set during this midnight occasion, which has led to their disappearance and then their inevitable death a few weeks later. This is some really scary crap, and the Persona series does a great job at keeping itself based in reality with people who talk and interact like actual people and not what we think of as sugary, ridiculous anime characters, although some anime stylings are still used in their characterization to provide just the right touch of mystique and uniquely interesting traits. But I repeat, it is not overdone, amazingly enough. Story-wise, the game is just so good. It proves that the guys at Atlus really know what they are doing, and that while they can produce a real dungeon wandering epic like SMT Nocturne, they also have the versatility to produce a story-based epic just like this. I really loved these characters. Your contemporaries are high school students just like yourself, and the dialogue is just so well written. The voice acting for some of the characters is a little outrageous in spurts here and there, but it adds so much once you really get to know everyone. In the game, it's eventually revealed that you must enter your television screen in order to solve this murder mystery that's been happening in your town. The way your party members all start bitching at each other about what the hell is actually in the television and whether they should actually go or not is just great. It's quality scenes throughout just like this that kept me looking forward to playing the game again from the start, just to watch it all for a second time. So the gameplay takes place in a sort of real time where you experience every day for just about a year. You wake up, go to school, interact with friends, join a club or part-time job, go on dates, and so on. It's basically a highlight reel of high school without all the misery and pimples. Weekends are usually free and up to you. Sometimes there's holidays where you get an extra day off from school, and sometimes there's class events like where you go camping for 3 days. It follows your typical Japanese life schedule, which is rather interesting if you aren't too used to it. During this time, your gameplay objective is to raise various stats. Through dialogue trees, you can become closer to your friends, which raises their persona level during the dungeon crawling. There are many other stats you raise as well, and you can use this time to go and buy items. The great writing keeps this from becoming tedious, and in an improvement from Persona 3, the daytime storytelling ties in much more closely to the evening activities.
Now's our chance.
When you manage to free up your evenings and enter the TV, that's when the real fun and excitement begins. It's time to dungeon crawl as you make your way through the freaky ass locations in order to save whoever's been appearing on the Midnight Channel and hopefully solve this mystery once and for all. This is the real meat of the gameplay, and it has been heavily improved since Persona 3. You can actually control your entire party now in combat, rather than just the main character, which makes strategic battle a lot more fun. The game is much less of a pain in the ass when letting you recover from getting stunned, and there are save points more conveniently spaced out. Your characters also don't get tired out as they did before. Some of these adjustments sort of scale the game back away from, I guess, realism, which they were focusing on before, but in terms of gameplay and practicality, loads better. The famous SMT demon system is back once again. As with the Persona games before, you raise demons by having them equipped. The equipped demon, aka Persona, will use up your magic points whenever you use one of their skills. You also adopt the strengths and weaknesses of that persona, which have a heavy emphasis on the gameplay, as just about every enemy is weak to a certain kind of attack and often strong to or even absorbs others. Battles are not just mindlessly hitting the X button and can become very strategic, especially in boss battles where you are battling basically on the brink of death. It is really awesome and proof that turn-based combat is not inherently flawed. Alright, being on the PlayStation 2, yes, this game looks a little behind the times in 2008. The great art style helps it out though, and if you can manage to make your way past that tiny little hiccup, you'll find yourself dealing with a great game. There is nothing more I could have asked for in the presentation, and the music is unbelievably good and catchy. Persona 4 is a near perfect game if you are looking for a game of this kind. Once the game captures you, prepare to watch all your time just fly away. Shin Megami Tensei Persona 4 for the PlayStation 2 receives a 10 out of 10.
Looks like she had issues of her own after all. But we'll stop her from going berserk.
Oh, you're going to rush the stage? What an ill-mannered guest. Maybe you're looking for an experience that's a little more intense.
Persona!